Hey everyone, Pastor Wes here with you on a beautiful Wednesday evening. Hope you're having a good day. Started out a little rainy, but it got better all through the day, and so we're thankful for that. We're picking back up with what we began to talk about at the end of last week about the surpassing greatness of God's power. And I want to read to you verses 19 through 22 in Ephesians chapter 1 that says this. And what is the exceeding greatness? What is the exceeding greatness of His power to usward who believe, according to the working of His mighty power, which He wrought in Christ when He raised Him from the dead and set Him at His own right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality and power and might and dominion and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come, and hath put all things under His feet, and gave Him to be the head over all things to the church, which is His body, the fullness of Him that filleth all in all. We talked about the scene of the cross last week and what looked like a bad day, but what essentially started off as a bad day ended up being a divinely awesome time on the third day, because God reversed the effects of raising Jesus from the dead, seating Him in heavenly places, seating Him at His own right hand. And I know a lot of people that are listening to this right now are probably at a point in their life, because so many believers are, where you feel like you've been beaten up. There are a lot of people out there that feel like they've been broken. You've experienced emotional beatings, physical beatings, relational beatings, spiritual beatings. You feel broke down, or as we say from where I used to come from, you're tore up from the floor up. The circumstances of your life just have not been in your favor. But what I want you to know is the very same thing that Paul wants you to know from what he's talking about here in Ephesians chapter 1. And that is that the exceeding or the surpassing greatness of God's power that worked to raise Jesus Christ from the dead, turning death into life, is the same surpassing greatness of power that is available to you this very night, at this very moment. God flipped the script with Jesus. He can do the same thing in your life, because God is no respecter of persons. The message of the cross, and what makes it so beautiful, is that God has enough power. God has enough power to turn the seemingly worst scenario into a victory if you will just trust Him in your life. See, with the cross, we have the doctrine of death, but we also have the doctrine of resurrection. And one thing that we often fail to appeal to or benefit fully from, however, is the doctrine of the ascension. See, Jesus didn't just rise from the dead. He rose and He was taken into heaven. He was seated at the right hand of the Father, where He intercedes for us every moment of every day, seated at the right hand of the Father. Now, I know that may sound very simple, that He's seated at the right hand of the Father. It doesn't sound like quite a lot, but it is a lot. In the Old Testament days, when the priest would go into the tabernacle, when he would go into the Holy of Holies, when he would enter into the Shekinah glory, the glory of God, in His presence, he would find a lot of furniture inside the temple. But one thing that he would not find, one thing that wasn't present, was a chair. And the reason for that is because the priest couldn't sit down, because his work was never finished. And so as a result, there was no provision for him to be seated under the old covenant. However, when Jesus entered into heaven, when Jesus finished His work on the cross, when He ascended into heaven, He was welcomed to a seat to settle in for eternity, because Christ's work on the earth was finished. He declared on the cross, He said, "It is finished." But what Jesus does, dying on the cross, being raised, and then being set down in heaven, what does that have to do with you? Well, the answer is very simple, and it's everything. See, as a believer, you can look back to the cross as the basis for everything that God has done. You can look back to the cross for everything that God is doing, and you can look back to the cross to see everything that God will do in and through and for you. It's all tied to your relationship to the cross. And what happens is, when you lose sight of what happened on the cross of Calvary, then you'll never experience it fully here on the earth now. And it's because if you lose sight of what Jesus has accomplished, what He's already accomplished for you, and that's the problem with a lot of believers, is they don't seem to understand when Jesus accomplished all the work that He did on the cross. You got to understand, He did it for you. And you may have to say that to yourself. He accomplished all of the work on the cross for me. And that's the key factor. He did it for you. If you lose sight of that, then you're going to lose sight of your inheritance right now. and you're not going to believe that you have anything. You're not going to believe that you have any power or authority or any victory in life, but you've got to see that he did it for you, and he did it for you so that you could have it right now. What he accomplished on the cross is the gaining of authority for you so that you walk in the authority of a believer, all the benefits, all the blessing, and all the power that he freely imparts to us right now came from his work on the cross. And he did it for you because he loves you that much. I love you too. Till next week, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you enjoy. I hope we have good weather. Hope you're able to enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next time. I love you. God bless you.